This is your Masters of the Universe Listen and Lookbook. Every time you hear this chime, it means it's time to turn the page in your storybook. When you finish listening to this story, you can turn the tape over and record your own Masters of the Universe story. All right, now let's begin. There was great excitement at the royal palace of Eternia. The Lady Irina had come to visit, and she was an important guest. She had been childhood friends with Prince Adam and Tila. When Orko, the court jester, happened to pass the lady's chamber, he saw a surprising thing. Irina was sharpening a dagger. That evening, there was a royal banquet in honor of Lady Irina's visit. Orko said nothing about the knife, but he was still puzzled by it when he was called to entertain the king and his guests at the banquet.
Your Majesty, when I play on this enchanted flute, the rosebush will burst into bloom.
The eerie tune which Orko played had no effect on the rosebush. When the shrill notes vibrated against the king's wine glass, however, the effect was explosive.
You little wretch!
Screamed Irina.
Look what you did!
She seized her own goblet and hurled it at Orko.
Get back to the stables where you belong!
She cried. Orko dropped his flute and fled. Man-at-Arms picked up the magic flute and tucked it into his belt, where it could not do any more harm.
This is most unlike Lady Irina.
At the same time, in the corridors of the palace, Prince Adam hurried after the terrified little jester.
Orko, wait!
Cried the prince.
It was an accident. It wasn't your fault. Why did Irina act that way?
Prince Adam wondered out loud.
It's not like her. She's always been so gentle.
Gentle? Do gentle ladies throw things at innocent little jesters? There's something else, Adam. Before dinner, I saw her sharpen a dagger,
said Orko.
Do gentle ladies need daggers?
Irina with a weapon?
Said Prince Adam.
From the time we were children, she has hated violence and weapons. This requires investigation.
With that, the prince hurried away to his room. Once in his chambers, Prince Adam seized the sword of power from its hiding place. He held it high and cried out, "By the power of Grayskull!" At the speaking of these words, the room blazed with light and roared with a thunderous sound. Prince Adam vanished, and in his place was the mighty He-Man.
I will go to consult the sorceress of Castle Grayskull,
said He-Man.
Perhaps she will understand this strange affair.
He-Man pointed his sword at Cringer. Magic flew from its gleaming blade. Instantly, his gentle pet tiger was transformed into the fierce Battle Cat. He-Man and Battle Cat raced through the night to Castle Grayskull. There, the sorceress, guardian of Grayskull, waited. She was always ready to help He-Man in his fight against evil.
I have been expecting you, He-Man, for I sense there is trouble abroad in our land.
He-Man told the sorceress of Irina's strange behavior.
Perhaps evil is masked by a fair face,
said the sorceress.
We shall see.
She waved her hand and a cloud appeared. He-Man gazed at the images in the cloud. He saw the banquet hall at the palace. There, he saw Irina entertaining the guests, playing for them on her harp. As He-Man looked closely at the images in the magic cloud, he came to a startling realization.
The king and his guests, they are all asleep. Irina has bewitched them with her harp.
That is not the Lady Irina.
The vision in the cloud suddenly changed, and the banquet hall was gone. In its place, He-Man saw a swamp. In the swamp, he saw a crystal globe where a maiden struggled in vain to get free.
That creature at the palace is an impostor,
Cried the sorceress.
Here is the real Irina.
A prisoner of Merman.
Gasped He-Man.
I've got to stop him. But first I must return to the palace.
He thanked the sorceress and was on his way. He-Man and Battle-Cat sped to the palace. They burst into the banquet hall and confronted the creature disguised as Irina.
Stand away from that harp, imposter!
He-Man!
He-Man's mighty sword of power flashed, and the harp was destroyed forever.
No! Not my heart!
The sword glowed with magical strength, numbing the creature's hand and forcing the dagger to drop to the ground.
My hand! I can't feel it! What have you done?
He-Man watched as the fair maiden shriveled and twisted and shrank away. Right before his eyes, she became a hideous beast.
One of Skeletor's demons.
Suddenly, Skeletor himself was there, and his loathsome henchmen were with him.
You come too late, He-Man.
Said Skeletor.
The king and his guards sleep. The kingdom is mine.
What Skeletor did not realize was that the sleeping enchantment had ended when the harp was destroyed. The palace instantly came alive.
You rejoice too soon, Skeletor!
Shouted He-Man as the king and his guards seized weapons. Instantly, the hall rang with the sounds of battle, which quickly turned toward the favor of He-Man and his allies. Raging, Skeletor pointed his evil staff at He-Man. The sword of power slashed out, and the staff was torn from Skeletor's grip. His eyes blazing with hate, Skeletor had to retreat. And as he gave ground, his minions fled as well.
I will return, He-Man, and you will regret that day.
Then, just as quickly as he had appeared, Skeletor vanished in a burst of madness. The battle for control of the palace was over. The imposter was exposed and her enchantment broken. There was still one task remaining. With Teela and Man-at-Arms, He-Man raced to Slime Swamp. There was Irina's prison, just as He-Man had seen it in the sorceress's magic cloud. Merman was there, too, guarding the captive lady.
He-Man, you are wasting your time. You'll never save the maiden.
Merman fled, never being one to stand and fight. But he left the heroes with a difficult task.
The crystal bubble that holds the maiden is stronger than your sword, He-Man. Soon the air in the globe will be gone, and she will perish!
Merman's claim was true. He-Man slashed at the globe, but it would not break. He wondered if his lifelong friend would truly perish. Suddenly, a last desperate idea came to He-Man.
Orko's flute. The one he played at dinner. Where is it?
Here, but the shattered goblet, of course.
Do you think there's a chance?
hope so,
replied He-Man.
It is our only chance.
He pressed the flute to his lips and began to play. The sound seemed to float toward the globe and surround it.
It's working. The globe is cracking.
And so, a long-awaited reunion finally took place. Childhood friends wept with joy at the safety of the Lady Irina.
So, Orko's simple magic has won over Skeletor's evil.
The next night, there was another feast at the palace, and again the Lady Irina was the guest of honor. This time, it was the real Irina who sat beside the king and listened to the tune Orko piped on his marvelous flute. This time, the rose bush did burst into bloom. And this time, His Majesty sipped his wine from a silver cup, so he could be sure it would not shatter.
Wonderful,
said Prince Adam to Tila. She frowned.
Yes, today's magic is wonderful. Yesterday's battle was not. Where were you during that, Adam? Why are you always off someplace whenever there's fighting to do?
perhaps I prefer magic to battles, said the prince.
Tila let out a sigh of exasperation, turned back to the entertainment, and tried to enjoy herself. Prince Adam just smiled.